Welcome to the Interesting Podcast, episode number 78. This episode is my friends George and Kelly Colyer, who are better known as the band My Girl, My Whiskey, and Me. And they're awesome, as you'd probably expect by now. George and Kelly I've known for a super long time. George and I met in 6th grade, I believe. We even lived together for a few years, and then Kelly I met early on in high school, so a very, very long time. And they were friends of mine that eventually got together and got married and started a band. And so I got to talk to them because they just did a tour of all 50 states in a year, which sounds awesome, and it's even more awesome than you expect. And I'm going to say awesome a whole lot in this intro because it fits. All right, so we talk about that. We talk about how they both started playing music, how they got into it. We talk about Bluegrass because their band is a bluegrass band, and why they chose bluegrass, what it is about that specific genre that drew them to it, and then just crazy stories about the tour, things that they expected, things they didn't, tips for touring bands, some really, really good ones. We talk about Crazy Horse, which was something that I hadn't even heard of before now, and it's nuts. All kinds of great stuff. So you guys are really going to enjoy it. There's also a little bit of extra on the end here. This podcast is actually going to end with one of their songs. So there's a little tease for you to right at the end. You know, a little cherry on top, if you will. So without further ado, here is the Interesting Podcast, episode number 78, with My Girl, My Whiskey, and Me's George and Kelly Colyer. Theme song time.
Yeah. The jam.
I know. You should hear the jam to my hype show. Right after actually, you know what? I have not played the hype show theme song on the main show before.
Ooh,
so
do it.
Because of the request of you guys, I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
And I have to warn you, you're going to get pretty hyped. Because I'm almost a little too obsessed with it, and it's my own theme song. So if I need to get hype, I listen to my own show.
It was really lame.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a remix of the Mr. Rogers theme song.
Is it really?
No, that'd be amazing though.
Oh,
Did you see the Mr. Rogers documentary?
No, is it amazing?
Oh man,
It's gotta be.
You want a good cry? That's the one.
Yeah.
We
watched that. We were just talking about last night how he when during all that segregation stuff, when some throwing acid on the black people in the swimming pools, he was just he had an American police officer on the show.
Yep.
And straight up washed his feet Jesus styles.
I love it. I
was
it.
What in the world? This guy's incredible.
It gets crazier. There's a part in the documentary where they talk about the show had been off the air for a while, and then 9/11 happened, and the network was like, we need Mr. Rogers back because we don't know who can talk to people after something like this.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It is nuts, and yeah, by the end you'll just start crying. It's so good. But to get hyped. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let me pull this
Yes.
up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm ready. But...
This is the theme song, if I can talk, the theme song for the Hype Show, which is a Patreon exclusive for anyone that's listening.
Huh?
You start getting excited!
so excited, I may vomit.
Tell me that doesn't get you hyped.
That is
You couldn't
awesome.
see us, but we were dancing.
Right?
we're
It's involuntary. I can't
Yeah.
help it. It's so
What?
good.
Who made me dance?
Yeah, exactly. What is going? Oh no! Oh no! It starts at the foot and doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, I love that song. I'm making hype shows just so I can play that song.
Oh, wow.
It's so good. I got it on this guy on Fiverr, and
Wow.
yeah, he so I sent him all these sound bites. I was like, all right, I want Rocco from the Boondock Saints, I want Anakin from Episode 1, I want Chandler from Friends, but I also want it to be in the style of the Final Countdown. And he goes, all right, yeah, let's mix this up, and that's what we got.
That's really. I
Nice.
can hear the final countdown in there. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Right?
Very,
Which
very
is-
subtly.
The most hype song in the history of ever.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
is. Yeah. Mhm.
You can't not.
I don't know how that's not played every New Year's Eve.
Right?
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. My
Next year, man.
Like every band that plays New Year's Rockin' Eve should have to well, not every band, but like the band that the end of that going into. I mean, how could you not?
I agree.
Well, you probably will appreciate this. So we're gonna do this St. Patty's Day show with some
Yes.
other band members, and we're learning we're learning 3 hours worth of Irish music, and
Ooh.
yeah. So I mean, I'm sure you're into that. So I was just thinking we're ending the set off with the Parting Glass.
Oh, how are you able to? Oh man,
Yeah, exactly.
I can't listen to that song without crying.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
rough.
It's
Since it falls unto my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and I'll softly call. Good night, enjoy with you all.
rough, but that's a gorgeous song. Do you know the Rocky Road to Dublin?
Yes,
we do
that's
that
one of
as
the
well.
ones.
Yeah.
We're
excited.
doing some traditional stuff, but we're also doing like Flogging Molly and Dropkick Murphys and stuff. So.
Of course, the classics.
The
Yeah.
classic.
The classic.
The song's about like someone stealing your hat and you beating up the entire room.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh yeah, and then you've got like the Rattling Bog, which is like let's just add on to this and get faster. Yeah.
I don't know that one.
It's if you go to like any Irish wedding at like 3 a.m. when everyone's drunk, someone will inherently just start singing the Rattling Bog. Yeah.
Interesting. Do you know the song? What's the
7 Drunken Nights.
Yeah, 7 Drunken Nights.
7 Drunken Nights? Not by the title.
It's
As I went home on Monday night, as drunk could be, I saw a horse outside the door where my old horse should be. I called me wife and I said to her, will you kindly tell to me who owns that horse outside the door where my old horse should be?
Oh, you're drunk, you silly old fool. Still you cannot see. That's a lovely soul that my mother sent to me.
Well, it's many a day I've traveled 100 miles or more, but a saddle on a soul, sure, I never saw before.
So it goes to that 7 nights, and like the last 2 nights are super dirty. Basically, his wife is cheating on him, obviously, and so she just says like, there's a point where like it's like whose head is on the bed where my head should be, and she's like, it's a boy, it's a baby boy. My mom sent him to me. Like no big deal.
Like, I've never seen a baby boy with his whiskers on before.
Yeah. But the last 2 nights we can't even
can't mention on this
sing them.
podcast.
Yeah. They're so bad.
That's
But
amazing.
our friend
They're
that
very human.
our friend that requested that we play it said that one time he went to a wedding and they had an Irish band, and so he requested that song at a certain point,
Oh my
and they were
God.
like,
They shamed
we
him.
can't. They shamed him. They were like, we can't play that at a wedding. And he was like, Irish people play everything at all things.
No, he didn't say that. He's like, don't you think that's a little inappropriate for a wedding, man?
Yeah.
Like in front of a bunch of people?
Yeah.
And he's like, okay.
It's a good point. It's a good point. It's like, I need you to play the song about the wife cheating on her husband. Yeah, no, I get it. That's the one. That's the one.
But those are the ones that are always played at weddings for some reason.
I
And
know.
request, like, play all the single ladies at my wedding. I was like,
Yeah.
what? Hold on a second.
It's
You
like-
want one now?
This one's for the crowd, you know?
Yeah.
Play one of those Carrie Underwood songs about destroying your ex-boyfriend's stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. And a happy nuptials to you both.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's
Speaking
amazing.
of which, what is different about being for you in your particular opinion? Because
We're doing the interview now.
I know that it's different about being, because I've been married for 5 years. But because you and Monique were together for 8 years before you got married?
Yeah, we just hit 9 years last week. Yeah. So what's different being married?
Yeah.
That's a good question, and touche. I never answer questions on my own show, but being that I've known you guys longer than any previous guests, I'll give you a little.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Because we've been together so long, and we
Yeah.
lived together for a lot of years as well beforehand, so it wasn't even like that was different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing is like money. Some of her bills are my bills now. My bills are her bills. But other than that, like, I don't know. I tell everybody, like, year 5 was the stride. Once you hit year 5, everything else is just gravy. You're like, yeah, we're in the swing now. We know each other so well. Like, it just works,
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
it.
And yeah, that's really awesome. That's really cool. Because I mean, I asked because like I think about you guys all the time. I'm like, man, like because we've only been together I think a total of 6 years, and like I'm just like, I mean, we're still hitting like little, I guess, milestones, I guess, a little bit in our communication and whatever.
Sure.
And I'm like, I always think about you guys. I'm like, man, they're younger than me. They've been together longer.
Yeah.
They're making it work out.
Yeah, I mean, I always joke that, like, so the first year we were together, normally people have, like, the butterfly phase for the first year. Everything's awesome. You're like, oh, I'm just so glad to have this person. And, oh, her favorite thing is also my favorite thing. Even if it isn't, it is now.
Yeah.
And we fought about everything for the first year.
Yeah.
Like, just little things back and forth. And for some reason, we stuck it out. And after a year, we're like, I think we love each other. And then, and then the fights got less. And now, like, we never fight because, God, we've been together so long. We're like, oh, I already know what it is. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
She's the best.
Yes, dear.
Yes, exactly. But before we got cut off, when did you guys meet? Because, like I said, I know I was a part of it, but I don't remember how it happened.
It was like, remember Key of David, House of Prayer, that tiny little
storage unit of a room.
Yeah. They wanted to do some worship in that room, and so I was like, it was funny because now I do this for a living, but like at that time I had never played music for 3 hours straight before, and when somebody asked me to be one of the worship leaders, I was like, yeah, I can do that for 3 hours, probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
I realized now that was insane. But so I invited all you guys, you and Victor, maybe Aaron, and I don't know who else, but like you guys brought George, and that was the first time I ever met him, and he had his guitar with him, as he always did. And he was like, can I sit in with you? And I was like, I guess so. Like, fine. And then 3 years later, we started dating.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because I think you were living with me still, George, weren't you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We lived together for a few years.
Everywhere you went.
Yep. That's another crazy thing is when I talk about the best guitar player I've ever met, George, you're right up there. And I remember that when I was like, I asked you one time, like, where you learned. You're like, well, I bought a guitar and then I just took it with me everywhere.
Yeah.
I was like, what? And that is not an exaggeration. If you were a place, your guitar was there.
Yeah.
So, practice really does make perfect, I guess.
It does.
It's easier.
It pays off.
I will say that, like, now that he plays the mandolin, it's a much smaller instrument, so it's a lot less, like, cumbersome.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's a better instrument to take everywhere.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So I'm assuming you stuck with the mandolin because of the genre that the band works in, or because it was smaller?
It's kind of weird. So the name of the band is My Girl, My Whiskey, and Me, and that kind of that solely comes from the first time I'd ever seen bluegrass music. It was a band called the Rayado Ruffians, and they had a song called My Girl, My Whiskey, and Me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it pays homage to them a little bit, and it was the first time I'd ever seen a mandolin in action, and I just fell in love with, like, it's amazing how it can be so, like, punchy but so warm at the same time. It's like one of the most unique toned instruments that I think I've ever heard, and because there's a perfect balance of brightness and warmth, and I love that, and so it became my favorite instrument almost instantaneously, and I did very similar thing to when I bought my first guitar, and I just went to a pawn shop and bought a mandolin for $35. And
What?
the mandolins you get for $35 are not the best mandolins that you can get.
Fair enough.
So I
makes sense.
cranked it behind it, and I took the nut off because it was like a cheap plastic nut, and I literally broke a pencil in half and used the graphite from the pencil as the nut for a while, and then I put a capo on it, so it would be capoed on the first fret, and I tuned everything down a half step. It was a jerry-rigged mandolin, but got my first gig on that one and made $100 and went and bought it.
Dude, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised at
Same
all.
deal.
Man, so Kelly, when did you start playing music?
I've always been a singer, but when I was 11, I remember I was sitting in the living room with my dad, and I was like, yeah, can you teach me guitar? Because I don't want to be, I basically was just like, I don't want to, I don't want to have to like have a tape playing or something. I don't want to be a karaoke singer, perchance.
Those are the type of people that perform on Fifth Avenue, though, babe.
That's true. That's true.
So that was my, I don't know, I always loved, I just always loved singing and songwriting, and I never expected to pursue it, though. I always just thought that it was easier as a hobby, because as you probably know with acting, it's very difficult to
For real.
and I didn't realize that, before I met George, I didn't realize that it was even possible to make like a somewhat decent living just being like a person that plays in bars. I just thought that was something that was too many, like you would never make enough money doing that. And, we're not blazing. No, blazing. We're not rolling in it.
Rolling in dough.
But
rolling in pizza dough.
We're, feeding ourselves well, and like, we're not, so it's good, and it's a good way to travel, and so I'm really happy that I just fell into this with George. And it's funny how
I gave you a gentle nudge.
I think it's funny how a lot of the music that I because it's hard to, I don't know, it's hard for me to like really find music. A lot of the music that I listen to now, I was in a band playing that music before I was into that music.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So like with Bluegrass, like I didn't listen to Bluegrass before I played it. And then I also, we were in a Pink Floyd tribute.
Amazing.
For a little while. And, I knew a couple of Pink Floyd tunes, but like now I know so much of it. And
it's all absolutely incredible.
I love it, So it kind of made me feel a little bit like, because normally when you're playing Pink Floyd songs for people, like the whole crowd is like, I saw them in '77. No.
Yeah, exactly. I only remember half of it.
Yeah, exactly. We've had a few people make remarks, and it's always so flattering when we play like a Bowie song or a Pink Floyd song, and they're like, "It's better than the original," and we're like, "Oh my god!"
No, it's not.
Yeah, you're wrong in so many ways, but I will appreciate this comment regardless.
Yeah,
because that is a huge comment to make.
Yeah,
I've become the king of deflecting compliments.
Yeah,
oh.
It's taken years of practice.
That's awesome.
Yep.
But what if someone compliments you on being so good at deflecting compliments?
I haven't had that happen, but...
You're so good at deflecting compliments, Brian.
I mean, I'm just copying you.
Oh!
Oh, look at that. I didn't even know that was sitting there. That's how I live my life. Do you have a plan? Absolutely not. Because no joke, I will say, I'm being generous, because I can only think of one, but I'll say two. There's only been 2 times in my life where I've said, "Wow, that went exactly as I planned it."
Yeah.
So I've learned to roll with the punches, and Monique is the exact opposite. She plans things, and they always work out. So I'm always like, we'll try, but trust me, it ain't gonna go the way I'm planning it. And then she plans it, and it does, and I'm like, what is happening? I don't understand. She hits all the green lights. I don't know. I'm glad I married her.
Magic of a woman.
Well, she's a nurse, isn't she?
She is, exactly. And am not aware of my extremities, so I'm smacking my hand on tables as I'm walking by accidentally.
Ah.
It's, God, thank goodness.
Accidentally unplugged some guy's IV when I walked in.
Yeah, yeah. Thank God she's not me, because she wouldn't be a nurse for very long. That's a fact. We joke sometimes. I was like, I could not do your job. She's like, what do you mean? I go, people will die. I know for a fact.
Yeah.
Give me half a shift, at least 3 people are going out.
Oh my God.
It's just the way it's going to be. I've got the memory of an Alzheimer's patient, and they need medication that I will not remember.
Look at you, be like, should you be on the bed here? Are you?
Exactly. Who are you? I don't know anymore. I don't know. I hope your last name is Tedford, because I got a ton of pills, and I'm not going into another room.
I'm scared to go out there.
Yeah, not gonna. No, just no.
Yeah, that's a high stress job, man.
I
Kudos.
can't imagine.
It's really amazing.
I know, dude. She has 20 patients that are hers. I was
That's
like,
quick.
I'm gonna keep delivering newspapers.
All the newspapers.
You know, hitting
Does
the.
she ever deliver babies? Is that ever a
She
part of her job?
has delivered a baby, yeah, as her I guess so. In nursing school, you've got like the classroom and all that stuff, but then you also have what's called clinicals, where you go from like hospital to hospital for like a week to get some on-the-job training, and each time you go to a different hospital, you're in a different unit. So she was like in the ER for a little bit. She was in this for a little bit, and yeah, she delivered a baby.
Wow.
Wow.
And I was like,
That must have been that's a
Magical
big
experience.
experience that you
That's
have with
crazy.
like millions of people possibly.
right? Yeah, I was like, nope, I'm good.
I've like just recently gotten over like my fear of like that sort of thing, and that like because I used to think it was so like gross, and every time everybody paints a picture of it, you're just like, oh no,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
everything about this is disgusting.
Yeah.
But somehow
Thanks, babe.
it's supposed to be beautiful, and I understand that, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
And then my brother, he didn't have a baby, but he was in the process of creating the baby, and so now
He's the father of a baby.
the
He
father
didn't
of
just
a
like
baby.
leave the girl. That's what.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, so I don't know. Now just thinking about it, like seeing her and everything, it's kind of like it changes the perspective of it a little bit, and it's like I wouldn't mind being in the room when Kelly's giving birth now, and like
Oh, cool.
I would much rather be.
Kelly's like, oh, thank God.
You'll be there. Trust me.
I've already, in the alternate reality where Monique and I do have kids, I'm like, I'm going to be up by your head, looking in the opposite direction, holding your hand. That way I'm there, and I have encouraging words, but I don't want to pass out. Like, oh, it's great. Ugh. And then you've got a passed out man as well as a newborn baby.
Yeah, that sounds.
Oh my gosh,
you
get
know.
this man happy.
Yeah, exactly. And knowing me, I'm going to hit my head on something on the way down. So it's like, I'm just going to cause more trouble than I'm worth. So that's the
Oh my
key. Knowing yourself well enough to put yourself in these situations.
Yeah.
It's true.
Oh, God.
Oh
Yeah, I
gosh.
don't even want to think about it. Greg has a
Hi.
kid, and same.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I love this child more than anything I've ever loved. But at the same time, God, it's stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have the easy job. All you got to do is just spoil that baby.
That's the plan. Yeah,
Yep.
that is the plan. He lived with us for a week. They came over around Christmas. And
Oh.
Ronan is, let's see, his birthday, he turned 1 in August. So he's like a year and a half now, whatever it is. They count months. I'm like, 14 months. I was like, what? It's a year and 2 months. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
I'm 72 months. You're 4?
But people do that. I'm like, why are you doing that?
Yes.
I'm gonna start aging myself in months as well.
Exactly. I did that once.
Yeah.
No, my favorite was like I added up how many months Monique and I were together, because somebody was like, "Oh, I'm on my 8-month anniversary." I was like, "That's awesome! I just hit my 100th month." Going strong.
It's tried.
You're like,
She ain't.
touche.
Yeah, she ain't wised up yet. So
She ain't figured it out.
I don't know. That's why I wifed the hell out of her. Had to
Yeah.
before she figured out what was going on.
You just wake up like every couple of years and like, you're still here?
Yeah, exactly. There are
Hey,
times.
Hey, think fast.
Yeah.
You throw it right-
Exactly. Exactly.
Before she can even think of it, she like just planned the entire wedding, and you're like, "That's fine, okay."
That's right. I used to joke that while she was sleeping, I just whisper into her ear, "Love me." And I can tell you guys, it works.
That is awesome.
That is great.
Oh, God. So you guys have played a lot of music. When did you decide to be a band? Because that's a specific decision, almost like having a kid.
Right.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of similar.
Yeah.
George, well, George started My Girl, My Whiskey and Me before we were together or even hanging out. Well, I mean, we had known each other, but we weren't hanging out at the time. Like, he started it with other people, which, like he said earlier, the name was based off of that song, and the experience that he had when he found Bluegrass. So a lot of people now especially think that, like, it's talking about him and his girl, who is obviously that girl, and how much they like whiskey. And like,
Well, they're not wrong.
Fair. Same.
But yeah. So he started the band. I don't even know how long ago. I think
Yours.
8 or 9 years ago, maybe. I don't know, something like that.
It's a bit.
Yeah, and then so our this band is almost as old or around as old as your relationship with Monique.
Yeah.
So as you can imagine, it's had its fair share of tears, but
Until year 5, then it hit the stride, right?
Right. Exactly. Well, yeah, actually.
Sort of, yeah. So I joined around 6 years ago. Like, we started dating, and then a little bit after that, some members moved around, shuffled around, and then we decided
committed, man.
we decided to move to South Carolina. And originally, it was going to be 4 of us that moved up here. But Matt and Nikki decided that they were not ready for that, and so they stayed behind and formed a different band, which is awesome. And we continued on as the duo and started all over again. And now Matt and Nikki live up here too. Actually, they just moved up to Asheville like last year.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, it's
cool, though.
just
It
a
really-
timing thing.
And it freed us up to, like, our music styles changed quite a bit, and we're pretty overly ambitious for our level of success.
As you
And-
should be.
Which is good. I think it is a good thing in some ways, and like, that's, I don't think this past like year would have happened where we did all 50 states if we had been like tied down with other members.
Yeah.
That's true. Way more people to wrangle.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just more expensive, and if a venue's never heard of you before, $200 is like all you can, suggest
for.
to them to muster up. Some places pay more, but most of the time it's like you're even looking at like $50 and you're like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Will you feed me?
Exactly. You show up with the hat. Please, sir,
Yes.
I'll play the music for you.
Can I have some more?
Yeah, exactly. I haven't
Yeah.
eaten in days. Yeah. Man.
We were pretty well off, man. We were definitely well taken care of on the road, and we had a lot of supporters on our GoFundMe, and we raised a good chunk of money on there, and people tipped really generously on the road and bought a bunch of merchandise and CDs, T-shirts, stickers, all that stuff, and it was awesome.
What's interesting is we made the most money in Alaska.
Really?
Yeah. And we made enough to basically cover, like, going from Washington to Fairbanks through Canada. We made enough to cover the gas, and then, like, basically doubled that, actually.
Yeah, we doubled it.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
There and back, actually. Fuel to Alaska, Fairbanks and back.
Yeah.
Just 42. It's a 42-hour drive from Washington.
Yeah. So the gigs paid really well, and then, like, the people tipped really well. So it was just a really nice community of people.
Mm-hmm. They were just like, hey, there's people.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys came from
coming
where?
to us?
New people in Alaska?
Yeah, exactly. Our entertainment has been making snow angels backwards. You gotta mix it up.
Yeah. Yeah. We went there the first week of May, and it was cold.
Still
It was
frigid.
very, very cold.
Man.
They're like,
It
it
was
does get
beautiful.
warm here. And I'm like, what? Define warm? Because I'm from Florida, and my mother's Jamaican. So,
Exactly. You're like, I don't even have thick blood. You're
yeah.
like, oh, man. That's nuts. So why bluegrass?
Tell us, George.
Tell us, George. Georgie boy.
There's really no explanation for it. It just kind of spoke to my soul in a way.
I like it.
A lot how I'd imagine Irish music speaks to your soul. You know, you hear a song and you're just like, I don't even know what this is about, but holy cow,
It
I
just
love it.
connects. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of this bluegrass music is. And like when you hear that like Appalachian, like where they go from like a D to a C back to a D, and you're just like, oh, I don't know what it is about that, but something about that dominant seventh, I just want it all the time, every day.
I hear you. I hear you. There's a
beautiful.
specific type of vocal harmony as well that you're like, oh, this is bluegrass. I there it is.
I think the perfect example for your listeners out there to listen to of like why I fell in love with bluegrass and like that style of Appalachian music is the song "Rain and Snow."
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely, the harmonies are unbelievable. There's a version of it by Michael Daves and Chris Steele. That's the thing I love too, is like there's so much of that traditional music out there, and there's so many different people covering it even to this day that you could have like, you know, thousands of versions of one song.
Right, right.
And it's really awesome. And like it gives you like this massive pool of diversity, and some of them are not good, but then you have somebody who like revisits it and reimagines the song. And I mean, like Kurt Cobain did a bluegrass tune, and he did In the Pines,
Mm-hmm.
and like he turned it into like their style. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like it turned, and it's a beautiful song. That's another beautiful song. That's got the same kind of harmonies
Sure. Sure.
With
I'm in it.
angst.
and the angst.
Yeah, so much angst.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, having not listened to bluegrass music before playing it, Kelly, was it difficult to learn because it's so versatile?
It was, I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I just like, well, I had like, I had a taste of it, but I was never into like country music is in general, like that blanket of country, like, I'm really not into. And so it's interesting. Like I'm learning that there is versions of country that I do really like, and folk music I really love. Mm-hmm. And I find that like, honestly, for me, it's just about like the feeling behind it. If I feel like it's just like puked out for money, then
Sure.
I can't handle it. But like, you can't help but love something that's, I'm going totally off topic.
There
You
is
asked
no
me how
topic here.
difficult. We're all about here. Yeah, basically, okay, I'm going to answer that question now.
We're coming back to this.
I mean, folk music in general is, it's, the easy chords generally, and like the two beat and the hammer-ons, and like there's really simple things. I don't think I've thought
It's really
about
getting
it.
used to the speed is the trick.
Yeah, the speed, and then like, but it's also, I think the hardest thing, honestly, about learning any kind of music is like, I mean, you kind of have to learn the, like the basics of it, the little hat tricks, but then you also have to like figure out like, how is this going to be different from everybody else's?
Sure.
And we do progressive bluegrass, and so like that's even more of like we have to, how are we going to make this sound different?
Complicated chords and
Right.
and rhythms, and on top of that, trying to keep it Appalachian sounding. And
But you also want to be yourself. You want to make
Right.
sure that your own personality is coming through, and it's not this contrived like I shoved these things together and you know.
Well, that
here
comes
it
from
is.
knowing the history of the music, I think, too. And like that's where I resonate anyway. If I know the story well and I can like empathize with the story in some way
Mm-hmm.
of the music, of the song, or of the culture of the music, and then I play it much better. Like we're learning these Irish tunes, and now I'm like, oh, those damn English.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And like when you have that attitude, it's like, even though I'm partially English,
Yeah.
Same.
like, you know,
Collier
I'm
is definitely
actually,
an English name.
yeah, I'm partially English and Irish.
So is Ballance.
I like to think of my people as peacekeepers.
Yeah.
So, but
I think of
the
them as
angst
rebels.
yeah, exactly. But you know, some of my rebels, you know, they got lonely in the
Of
war.
course, you know.
They met some English folk, and they were like, "Hey, they ain't so bad."
Yeah, you know, can't be with the one you love.
Love the one you with.
Hey, hey, hey.
Wow, that is so. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love Babe.
Thanks, babe.
That was more from the perspective of the ancestors, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
right.
we're justifying the mixture in blood, if you will,
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Yes.
in a lovely song.
The blood.
Yeah. 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 I'm with you. I'm with you.
It's awesome. But yeah, that's how bluegrass was for me. Is I initially resonated with just the tones of the music, and then when I started learning the lyrics and the story behind even the authors of the music and stuff like that, it's a lot, you know, because Kelly and I are leading worship at a church in Tennessee right now, and
Right on.
we it's a similar thing to that. Like if I'm not gonna play a worship song if I can't, you know, listen to it and resonate with it and understand where they're coming from. And there's a lot of these hymns out there like It Is Well With My Soul, and you think about the history of it, of this guy writing it after his daughters had drowned, like, and he's sailing over the part of the sea where they drown, and that's when he wrote the song "It Is Well With My Soul." And you're like, oh my gosh.
Sure.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Holy cow.
Man, that makes sense though for the medium of music. You know, it is an outward expression from the inside, and you
It
can
is.
tell when it's phoned in. Like that's the big thing with like talking about country nowadays. Like a lot of country has become a victim of supply and demand.
Oh
in that it's like not country anymore in the
No.
true sense. It's popular music because
Yeah.
you have to get the bills paid. So like
Yep.
Yeah.
it's like it makes sense, but then to find old school like country with like, you know, Hank Williams Jr. and the
Right.
classics, it's difficult. I just got introduced to Jamie Johnson in December because I was like because I was talking to Slim about that about country, and I haven't heard good country in a really long time. And then he told me that there's a genre called outlaw country.
Right.
And that's like the real country that's still kicking. I was like,
Yeah.
oh. So I've
Yeah.
been listening to that, and I'm like, my God, it's just from the heart.
Yeah, it is. Some of it is, and then there's some of it that's a little grungier and
Yep.
and dirtier.
Yeah.
Like I can't get into a lot of Hank 3 stuff because he's just like
Yep.
talking about drunk and partying and stuff, and I'm like, you know, that's cool and all, but like, where's the feeling?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, do you know Bo Burnham?
Yeah.
He had that bit about like country music where he's like, he brings up that like nowadays the people that are writing the country hits are like millionaires writing from a private jet, and it's like I just need buzzwords like blue jeans,
Yes.
ripped shirt. It's
Ripped
like
shirt.
cold
Yeah.
beer, and then you're like, oh, I know what all those things are. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
That's how I feel about-
I got all those in my house right now.
Yeah.
Exactly. This song
That's
is
right.
for me.
You could literally turn just those words into a song.
Oh, yeah.
Blue jeans, ripped shirt, cold beer.
Exactly.
That's a country
Yeah.
song. That's the chorus right there. That's the hook.
That's
right.
how I feel about like the thing about buzzwords though, and it bothers me more than it probably should, to the point where like if I hear those words, it like I have to like stifle some like real serious like angstiness. Like when people try to make something sound dark by using words like cigarettes, I'm like, shut up with your cigarettes. I don't care. Just talk about your feelings. Like,
I'm
I don't know
feeling a
if this-
cigarette right now.
Oh gosh, yeah. I'm not sure if this happens for everybody, but there's certain words for me that, like, just the words in and of themselves take me out of the music entirely. So, like, if I hear you playing a country song and you're, like, talking about getting a text from your girlfriend, and I'm like, text.
yeah.
Yeah,
nothing romantic about a
Yeah.
text message.
You tell me one farmer that texts.
For real, I don't know. I think maybe that's what it is. And again, it's probably just me trying to resonate emotionally with the music, and like, there's no way for me to resonate emotionally with texting. I just don't do it.
Yeah.
Like,
That's true.
it's just something, I don't know. And there's a lot of words out there like that, and I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but when I hear them, I know it, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, someday there's probably going to be like, it's going to be when things that are popular right now are going to be old, and somebody's going to say something about Instagram in their song, and it's going to sound
Old school.
like old school.
What?
But it's really not going to. It's just going to sound like so computerized.
That makes a lot of sense, though. It's like if you're listening to a country song, and the guy's like, "I drove my Mercedes to the farm." You're like, "You drove what?" No,
Yeah.
you drive trucks. That's what you drive, or tractors.
Yeah.
You pick a different word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I pick a different word. But even driving in general, I'm like, no, too new. Go
No.
back further.
You got to be
You-
riding.
You walked or you rode
the soles
your
of your
you rode your
shoes
horse.
were worn.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
That's right. You better be hoofing it, or I'm out.
Yeah, you're hoofing it or riding a horse that's hoofing it.
Yeah, exactly. There need to be hooves in your transportation.
Yes. Some sort of hooving.
Exactly. I hear the word walk. I'm walking out.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my
These
god.
boots are made for hooving.
That's right. Yeah.
You guys are killing me right now.
God. This is what it was like when we lived together.
Yes, we just tangent
It's-
everything.
We just yes and everything.
Like,
Oh my gosh.
Like, to the detriment of Monique, I will run a bit into the ground. She called me an old man once, and for 30 minutes at Publix, I was like, "Oh, where's the meat? I can't find the peas." And there's like people around. She's like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" It's like, "The old people, we forget things." And I feel so bad for her, but at the same time, she kind of brought it upon herself, you know.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I don't feel that bad.
she caught
Yeah.
the ring,
That's
Yeah.
exactly. What a boob. But
Oh, what a... Gotcha.
I
I
will
know.
say though that old man voice is a really like fun one. I was doing it yesterday and I almost didn't want to stop. I was just like, oh man, this is a fun it's a fun imitation. And I don't think I've ever, and it made me think like, I don't know if I've ever actually met a person that talked like that. I don't know where we got it. Like, where did we hear that?
Cartoons.
Yes.
guess so.
Yes.
I
Well,
am-
I mean, I think we all inherently do it. Like when we stretch, we're like,
It's true. Yeah.
My
Gotta
boots!
be careful. I have so many, just because I'm weird, I have so many characters that I'll pull out around the house, and I've just recently started naming them.
Oh.
And Monique is not a
how
fan.
psychosis starts.
Yeah. Monique is not a fan. It makes him real. It's like my favorite old man, his name is Dwayne Pinkerton.
Oh.
I was born in the 1920s, and I forget words as I'm saying them. But here we are.
But here we are.
Yeah.
And I'm Joe. I've been smoking since birth. But that's okay. It's still around. I got the heart of a horse, I'm told.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're huffing it.
yeah, we're hoofing it. Back in the day, me and Joe would hoof it all the time. Your name's Joe, I'm Dwayne. Oh, yeah, I forget. So, yeah, so I got those. Or Jacob Potts is another one.
Jacob.
My
Nice.
name's Jacob Potts. I'm a radish farmer from Omaha. Don't know much else about radishes, but I know everything there is to know about radishes. And Monique's like, "Oh my god."
You sound like what's Matthew McConaughey. Did you see what's that movie? Is it Interstellar?
Yes,
He was in it.
it was in Interstellar.
He's the one that he's like the corn. He's like a corn because everybody's like all anyone's doing is growing corn.
Right. I
He's
think
like,
I think that is
"Oh,
Interstellar.
boy."
Yeah, we gotta find Merv.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think he's a corn farmer, but he
Lives out by the
he
corn.
lives out like there's something. That's the kicker as to why they're trying to get out of Earth is because like
I
it is
know.
becoming uninhabitable.
That's
If I
true.
remember correctly.
The
Wait.
point was that he sounded like Matthew McConaughey. Don't get obsessed about
Oh,
Interstellar.
I love that.
It
Their
is a
depiction
name.
of a four-dimensional hole.
Yeah.
Don't even get started. Oh, it's so perfect. Everything
Yes,
about it is perfect.
It's a subpar Matthew McConaughey, but we gotta get out of here. It's too much corn.
Yeah.
We gotta find Merv.
Have you seen True Detective?
Yes,
Oh, it's so good.
it's so good. The new season is amazing.
The third one?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it's so good.
I have to get HBO
So
again.
the first season is obviously the best season.
Is it?
The second season just bummed me out.
Really? I love the second season.
Okay, let's do a little spoiler tangent. So I loved it until the last episode with Colin Farrell's character. I was like, you couldn't let the text send. You couldn't just give me that. Like,
yeah.
So I walked away. I was like, why? Why? Everyone just has a bad time. And then at the end of the season, all the bad guys win. And I was like, what is... Oh, man.
Changing it up, you know?
It was rough, but sometimes I think it is just so much more realistic.
Yes.
And I think
100%.
that, like, yeah, I mean, like, there are certain points where you want, like, the superhero to win, but nobody in that show was a superhero.
Yeah.
Everybody in that show was basically kind of crooked.
Yep.
And so it made sense that a lot of things just didn't work out.
Or all the things didn't work out.
Yeah.
So the text is what gets me. I was like, you couldn't give me that. Just have the text send.
I know.
So the boy knows it's his son. You would never give me that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was a rough one. But it was amazing. And season
But
3
he was
is
in the middle of
very, very good.
nowhere. Why would that text have sense?
Because I need it, Kelly. Because I need it.
I mean, yeah. The women lived and their baby lived.
That's true. We got to find
Or-
some solace. And man, Vince Vaughn was crazy in that.
Yeah.
It was really good. I like it a
Yeah.
lot.
I didn't watch the whole thing with Kelly, but I saw a couple scenes with him, and I was like, whoa.
Oh yeah, he gets into like that fight in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that, like, using Vince Vaughn as a serious
Right, but it was an
actor.
incredible
Right?
choice.
Yeah, who knew he could be intimidating?
Yeah, I was like, oh
yeah.
my gosh.
I actually kind of, like, really dislike him as a comedic actor.
You don't like Wedding Crashers?
No. But I didn't watch it, so.
Oh, what? Then how do you not like...
She also said she didn't like Waterboy, and then I showed it to her, and she's like, I love this movie.
Oh, you need to
But
watch Wedding Crashers.
Sometimes I'm right. Sometimes I'm right about it, and so I don't want to watch a million movies. Like,
Doesn't Wedding Crashers have wow?
Yes, it
Isn't
does.
it?
Owen Wilson?
Wow.
Wow.
is that
Yeah.
your imitation of him?
Wow.
I've
Wow.
got a really bad Owen Wilson impression. Wow.
Wow. Oh, I see
Wow.
it now. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's not
Oh.
bad. We got Vince Vaughn. He's back here. Wow.
Wow.
It reminds me of that thing where they put the lightsabers in there, all the lightsaber sounds were Owen Wilson. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Wow, 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 wow.
Wow.
Great.
It's so good.
Oh, that's incredible.
But so you guys just did 50 states in how many weeks?
52 weeks.
Well,
We actually
technically we did
less.
it
That
in
was the
under.
goal. We
Yeah.
did it
In under a year,
Yeah.
you played a gig in every state in the U.S.
Yep, played music in every state.
Yeah.
Because there was a couple states where we were just like,
Showed
we
up.
don't want to be here anymore. We want to be in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Fair.
Which isn't the whole state,
It
but if
isn't,
you're in
but-
southern Nevada, it's basically just Las
Yeah,
Vegas.
there's nothing else but Vegas, and all the other towns are trying to be Vegas, but they're not as good, and that says something because Vegas is not good.
Oh, I might
if
be
you're
going to Vegas.
Vegas, if you're going to Vegas for like, if you're going to go see a show or something like that,
Or if you have a lot of money.
if you have a lot of money, I'm sure it's great. And there's parts of Vegas that I heard about after we had left there, because like we went just to like the Strip, and it's so touristy and horrible. But there are some really cool parts of Vegas that I heard about, and I actually would like to go back and check them out. Like there's a big old like trash heap of amusement park signs and parts of the rides and stuff. And it's just like you can go
cool.
through and see, like a slice of the history of that, and like it sounds really interesting. But we just kind of popped in there, played 2 songs. This was what encapsulated the whole Vegas thing. We played 2 songs, and they were like 2 of our best songs, and nobody tipped us. And then the violin players that let us borrow their spot for 2 songs got back up, and they were tuning, and somebody tipped them $5.
What?
Yeah. Well, they had amplification too. They had like a backing track, and then they would like play they would like solo with the backing track, and so they were amplified. And we didn't, we were just playing acoustic.
Yeah.
But we're loud. I mean, people stopped and looked, and I'm
That
not.
counts.
So
Yeah.
I don't sound cocky, but we don't sound bad. Like,
No.
you know what I mean? Like,
You sound great.
yeah.
I
So
agree.
it's like, it's just, I mean, there were tons of people there. It's just one of those things where sometimes, and maybe it's just because of the fact that like there's so much grabbing at your attention in a city like that.
Yeah.
But like,
If we had amplification, it would have been different. But, moments like that kind of like humble you, and like
Sure.
it helps to keep you grounded and to help you be thankful for the cities that, really accepted you. And like, I mean, there were some places that just felt like home immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there are some places, like we showed up one place, it was an open mic. It was totally unplanned. And we showed up to the open mic to play a couple songs, and like people forfeited their spots so we could continue to play.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And like, we made a bunch of money on merch sales, and people were like, people shut up. The whole coffee shop was quiet and listened to us.
yeah.
Dude.
It was amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
and there's another experience like that. Hops on Birch. I can't remember where that is, but
Oh yeah.
It
That
was
was
an open
in
mic.
Flagstaff, Arizona.
and the same thing happened.
Love
you
that
know?
place.
We showed up to the open mic, and people were like, "Can y'all just keep going?"
Yeah. And we made a bunch of friends. Like,
I mean,
they
yeah.
legitimately like hung out with us and stuff. And
Yeah. Flagstaff, Arizona.
I mean,
yeah.
in some of those places, like in the coffee shop he was just talking about, that was in New Hampshire. After like the gig that we booked there got double booked, so we went there and like didn't have anything. So all we could do was either busk, which there was in that area, there was no place to play on the street, and really make any money. And then so we just went into an open mic, and we might have made like, I guess we probably sold a couple CDs or something.
Yeah.
I think a couple people just helped us out. And, at least we had just hit the state, and then it was a nice time. But
It was a
like,
really nice time.
and then I think it was, what was it, Maryland? We couldn't get a gig in Maryland. It was so hard. I don't know why. And we just popped into an open mic at an Irish place.
Love it.
That was basically like just enough, just in Maryland. Like we couldn't, on our route, we couldn't go like all the way somewhere in the middle. We couldn't go to a big city because it would have been too far to have to come back to Delaware, I think was the next place we were going to.
Sure.
And so we sat to this place. I remember the name of it. It was called Sean Boland's.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
sweet.
And it was like, I don't know, Monday, Thursday, something like that. And we ended up having, it was one of the best nights of the tour.
Incredible.
Because it was like a huge jam. Everybody like this tiny little room, everybody was just playing the whole time.
Yeah.
Together.
And it turned into that, and like everybody was like, "This never happens." Like,
Yeah.
This is like
Really?
totally- yeah. And so like we somehow brought the energy of just being like, just chill and like just play music together.
Yeah.
And stop being weird about it.
And this girl, I remember this girl was like, she just like, before we started like our little bit, she came up and she was like, "I play saxophone." And I was like, "And?"
Get in here.
Yeah, so she played with us,
was
played
awesome.
along with us, and we're like, "Yeah, dude, like keep doing that." And then like I don't even know how it happened, but like another person like offered us a place to stay for the night, and we became really good friends, and like watched Cool Runnings with him, and
Oh, sweet.
yeah,
That was my first time watching Cool Running.
yeah, that was a big
What?
George, yeah,
Hey, Sanka, you dead yet? Yeah, man.
yeah,
I love that movie.
I
was a great
know,
Rest in peace, John Candy.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh, was he dead?
He's been dead for a while.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. One of the good
Oh.
ones. One of the good ones. So, okay, did you see Grand Canyon?
Yes.
Yes.
Was
we
it
did go to-
amazing?
It was
It
incredible.
was incredible, yeah.
The
I wanna see
colors. It's just like, isn't that supposed to be red? Why is every color here? What's happening? Then you got the river in the bottom of it, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this
Yeah.
is like,
Beautiful.
this is paradise. Like, this is absolutely incredible.
Well, I think by that point we had seen so much. We had seen we had already been to like the West. We'd already seen we'd gone through Colorado, and we'd seen Washington, and we've seen a lot of mountains. We'd seen a lot of like the Arizona and with New Mexico and the Red Rocks and all of that. And so I kind of thought when we were going to Grand Canyon, I was just like, I mean, what are we really going to see that's going to surprise us at this point?
Right.
And I think that's the great thing. That's the grand thing about it, is that it's its own entity.
It puts into perspective how tiny you are, and like to think that the Grand Canyon is tiny in comparison to Earth, and the Earth is tiny in comparison to like
The galaxy,
and then so on and so forth. And you're just like, and then science is like, oh, there's some other dimensions also, and you're like, oh my God. Why are we here?
And you're just like, the lines are too long at Starbucks.
Oh my! I ordered a caramel frappuccino and I got a mocha frappuccino, and I'm about to have a BF.
That's right. Yeah, I'm gonna write a letter.
Yes.
I need to go on
things
Instagram
that we
and
get angry about, and then like later on realize how dumb it was. And I think the best thing we can do as people is to try to do that quicker. Realize how dumb.
Yeah. For real, perspective. Like,
yes.
what of this actually matters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like if we have a gig that like is crappy, you know, it's really easy to be like, gosh, that sucked, and I'm super disappointed, and I don't ever want to do it again, and that's horrible, and da-da-da-da-da. But you can put it into perspective of like, well, we've impacted some people in such a way that like, I mean, we've literally had people tell us that we've changed their life. like,
Whoa.
Which is super awesome, you know, like.
And we make money.
And we do really well financially,
We make money,
you know,
and
for the most part. I mean, there's
play.
a few here and there that are, you know, not great gigs, and they don't see value in us, and so they treat us in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But there's lately in Greenville, we've kind of gotten to the point where we are an asset to the venue now. It's not like they're doing us a favor anymore, and we're just kind of part of the show. It's literally like, without us, they would be less successful. And it's an awesome place to be, because those places have supported us from the beginning when we weren't an asset, when they were literally, you know, kind of throwing us a bone financially, because we were, you know, for all intents and purposes, an expense, and that's it, really.
Sure.
You know, they want live music, and so that's where they're at, and so they just chalk it up as an expense.
Right.
But now it's actually, you know, a benefit to them, and there's like 3 or 4 venues where like they constantly say, you guys pack out the house every time. And one venue said that we bring like a completely different breed of people there. Like, she's
That's
like,
cool.
Like tonight we sold all craft beer. We were able to tell our chef to be creative and just express himself in the menu.
With the specials,
With the specials. And they sold out of all the specials.
Wow.
And then, it was incredible. And then they were like, and tomorrow night, we're gonna sell all Bud Light and only hamburgers and French fries, and that's it.
Huh.
And I'm like,
so they were,
crazy.
they were saying that they were trying to go more in the
Craft.
be more of a craft beer,
just so they could be part of the community.
Yeah.
Right.
And so they were like, we're really happy to have you guys, because you brought the craft beer people. And I was like, we didn't even we're craft beer people.
Yeah.
We didn't even know that we could do that. We had
It happens inherently. I mean, just over time.
Yeah.
You know, just keep being genuine and real with people, and doing your performance. Stop trying to be cool. Stop trying to be new. Stop trying to be hip. Just do what you feel called to do, and like that gets rewarded. You know, it's just really that simple.
I totally agree. That's pretty much my whole show. Is like there is definitely power in truth, even so much as like just being honest. Like, don't put up like a facade like you're trying to prove anything. Like, it's very interesting. Like, I've had micro interactions with people like at gas stations and whatnot. And if anyone's ever like, "Oh, how you doing?" as just like a pleasantry, if I'm ever like, "I'm actually cold," their whole face and mood changes. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, oh, wow, we can talk for real about this.
Yeah.
I'm just cold, man. Because people don't expect that. It's usually, I'm good, how are you? All right, cool. And then, like, none of that interaction holds any weight, really, because you have so many with so many. But
yeah, exactly.
You're exactly right, I think. Especially with music. You know, if you have a truth that people can resonate with in the same way that Bluegrass resonated with you, something magical happens. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to hear something hilarious that
I
Emily
would
did
love
this morning?
to hear something hilarious.
Emily is my sister-in-law.
Essentially,
our sister-in-law.
yeah.
Sweet.
The baby mama. So this morning, she told me about this poem. And maybe this isn't hilarious, so I'm going to have to
Let me roll this back here.
Yeah. So she was like, tell me what you think about this poem I just found on this post or whatever. And she told me about it, and I gave her like this really sour look, and I was like, just with poetry like that, and I told her, I kind of ripped into it a little bit.
Oh no.
And I think she asked me, maybe possibly because she knows that I write, and so maybe she wanted my opinion on that regard. But then she told me that she wrote it.
Oh no.
And I was like, Emily, why did you do that to me? I wanted your honest opinion. And I was like, oh, she started laughing though, which is really good. She obviously was ready to like take a punch if
No.
that's not hilarious, but it was really funny to me that she I felt so uncomfortable that she did that, but I was also like, respect, man.
Like, you've been played, but I did walk into
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Respect.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. So I've been to every state on the East Coast, every
Okay.
state from here to Illinois, here to Texas, and California, and now Colorado. So I've been to over half of the states. As people who've been to all of them, what were some of your favorites and places that I need to go?
Alaska.
Yeah, Alaska.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
It's beautiful, and like honestly, like drive there from from like if you want to fly into Washington and get a rental car, it is gorgeous. The whole drive is. So I don't like driving with people, and so you only see somebody pass you in oncoming traffic once every like 2.5 hours.
Oh.
In the Yukon.
In the Yukon, yeah, and all the lakes in Canada are like frozen solid in May, and like I'd never seen how a lake crystallizes, like the ice crystallizes. It is gorgeous. I mean, like you have like ice crystals that are like you can chip them off and break them off of the actual whole thing, and they're like 3 inches long. They're beautifully long. They feel like glass in your hand, and you can like throw them, and they like make this like twinkling sound on the ice. It's like
Christmas.
it's unbelievable. Yeah, it sounds like Christmas. It's incredible, and it smells like pine everywhere. It's
What?
But I will say that a lot of what he's talking about is actually Canada.
yeah, I mean, Alaska was that too. I mean, it was
Alaska
all
was very
a similar climate, and
and the people there are just a different kind of people.
the way somebody in Alaska put it to me this way, because we were talking about like, man, the people here are really awesome and nice, and he's like, well, yeah, it's because the people here are happy to be here because you don't just show up in Alaska, you choose to be here. And so like the people who are here want to be here, and they're happy that they're here. And so it's just literally people happy being where they are, and that's it. And happy that they're alive, honestly, because perspective is like when you go through a winter in Alaska, like you made it. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, for real. You've earned the right to live.
For real. Like it's crazy. I want to do it one year just to experience it, but Kelly won't do it with me. So
I told him he can go by himself.
But then you're like, I'm gonna be in the dark by myself in the cold. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I'll visit him.
Oh, in the summer.
We'll have conjugal visits.
There you go. Yeah.
We have a friend actually from Naples that moved to Alaska recently.
Really?
And she went just to visit, I think, and then she ended up just moving there.
Which is a testament to Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. Talk about diametrically opposed environments.
Yeah,
for real.
I will say though, like a lot of the places that we name as some of our favorites are surprising to people, because a lot of times when we stopped in really small towns, the people were so nice that like and you know they were generous, but they were also like inviting, and they were like party with us and hang out with us, like
Oklahoma City.
Well, that's a bigger city-ish, but like
right.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really expect Oklahoma to be that cool, but
Mississippi.
Yeah, the Natchez, Mississippi was this tiny town, and sometimes I wonder if we were to get, by some weird chance, if we were to get like really famous or have a lot of pull, and we told a lot of people about like Natchez, Mississippi, they would all ruin it. Like all of you go separately and like visit there, yeah, sure, but like don't everybody go there at once.
The thing we would do, honestly, I think would be like, if we did a massive tour again after we had like a national poll.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if Mumford and Sons showed up and played in a mom and pop coffee shop. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah,
and
that'd be bad.
sold tickets for like $500 a piece. You know what I mean? Because it's a mom and pop coffee shop, you can come hang out.
Right.
And they gave like a massive amount of the proceeds to the coffee shop. Like,
There'd only be
giving-
like
you know what I
40
mean?
people
Like,
there.
you'd be giving back so much to them, and like, it's an experience for the viewer as well to see one of their favorite bands like so close up, and like that's, you know, my goal is not to become famous or anything like that, but if it ever does, that's what I think I would do with it. You know, I'm not in it to make, you know, an insane amount of money. Like, I'd like a triple digit home, you know, up in the triple digits as far as the thousands.
At least $100.
You know what I mean? Six figures. That's what I mean.
Yeah, that's what you meant.
And, you know, and nothing crazy. You just basically just have some land out somewhere, and that's it, and be able to sustain myself
I hear you.
on a moderate budget, you know, and even a low budget. Honestly, like, I wouldn't mind scraping by for the rest of my life. But if I can give back to the people that have made everything that we've done thus far possible, I feel like I'd be really happy. And I am happy because we're starting to do that, you know, and it's really cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that's
We
awesome.
also have some pretty genuine love in South Dakota.
South Dakota.
South
Really?
Dakota's thing.
Is-
And
yeah,
there's
if
a
you're
lot
gonna
of
go
stuff
anywhere, if you're going to choose a place to go to first,
Mhm.
South Dakota is the place to go.
Really?
Yeah, Rapid City and Spearfish, South Dakota.
Yeah, but like in that, there's also as far
Spearfish
as
more so.
there's the Badlands
yeah.
that are really amazing as far as scenery. There's
Mount Rushmore
Right.
and
Crazy
Horse Memorial, which is like, have you heard about that at all?
I know the name, but I don't know what it is.
So it's a monument to Crazy Horse, who is a Native American chief.
Oh.
Well, I don't know if he was a chief, but he was a leader. But the whole story of Crazy Horse was he like surrendered during a battle
with the white man.
with the white man because he was losing too many Native American lives, and so he wanted to stop that. And so he surrendered, and under the flag of surrender, they straight up stabbed him in the back and killed him.
Good Lord.
Yeah, and so, you know, the monument is a testament to before they killed him, they I think they taunted him by saying, where's your land now?
Oh,
And
God.
he said my land is where my people lie buried, right before he died.
Oh,
Yeah, and so the monument is massive. The head of Crazy Horse, inside the head of a Crazy Horse, you could fit all of Mount Rushmore.
good Lord.
And it's not just his head. He's riding a horse.
Yeah.
And he is pointing at the Black Hills, and it's based on his last words. My land is where my people lie buried.
Oh, that's insane.
And it's
Dude.
been, but the thing is that it's been
Under
in,
construction.
yeah, since like, I mean, what, the
Since the
50s?
I think, yeah, 50s or even earlier than that, because they're taking absolutely no government funding whatsoever.
Really? That's cool.
Because they were just kind of like, they felt like that would be a little bit backwards.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it was the government that kind of did this, so.
Yeah, understandable.
And, yeah, exactly.
So now they have a lot more, they're building a lot more
They're building
momentum because they have like a whole park center on it where like you have to pay to get in, and there's like so
then you
many.
can donate, and you
Yeah.
can buy merchandise and stuff. That's like, it's not just like cheapo merchandise. It's like handcrafted Native American stuff, and it's like all really gorgeous art. You know, it's not just like trinkets and stuff. Although some of it, you know, would be that for a lot of people. It's really genuinely beautiful and like a part of a rich history that is trying to be continued to, you know, be like held on to, essentially.
What's funny is that they picked this guy. I don't remember how they met him, but he was this white guy,
He
a
was a
construction
sculptor.
worker, you know,
He was a sculptor.
sculptor, sorry. And they asked him to do it for them. And so he started all by himself. Mm-hmm. And he's like literally just like chiseling away at like this rock and like this giant mountain. And like,
he got married.
He got married and he had 10 kids, and eventually the 10 kids started to help him out.
All of them started working on the mountain on their own.
That's awesome. He made his own workforce.
Yeah, exactly. And they all did it on their own accord because they learned about the history of the Native American people and the history of this piece and how it's like it's basically their family's legacy, and it's like because like essentially his reasoning for doing it is because he feels like his people wronged their people, mm-hmm. and it's like the least that he could do. And it's just like the least you could do is like carve this giant mountain. Like that's insane.
For the rest of your life.
Literally the rest of his life. He spent every moment of his life carving into this mountain.
That's amazing.
Like, yeah, and he never saw it finished.
He never saw it finished.
He died, and it's still not done.
There was a moment too in that where he one of his sons crashed a tractor off. He like fell off of the mountain in a tractor and like survived the fall. And when his dad saw that he survived the fall, he's like, "You got it in there. You get it out."
Yeah.
That is insane. Yeah, I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, Crazy Horse
I didn't
Memorial.
either. I was like,
man.
Why don't we know about this? This is really important.
Also in South Dakota, the Termosphere Gallery. We're like sponsoring these people, I guess.
Yeah.
They're incredible. The Termosphere Gallery, this will blow your mind if you liked Interstellar. He paints on the spheres with a 6-point perspective in such a way that it illustrates a 4-dimensional whole, essentially.
What?
So he captures, art is capturing a moment,
right?
Essentially. Now imagine capturing a moment in full 360 in every which way, and that's what he's doing because, just as I can, look in one direction and turn my body around and see what's behind me, you can look at one side of the sphere and then turn the sphere around, and that's what's behind you, sort of idea.
What?
So it's like literally like you're in the center of a place, essentially, and he's painting what would be around you, but it's inverse now. So like instead of being inside the sphere, you're on the outside of the sphere. So it illustrates a 4-dimensional whole, essentially.
That is insane.
It is really incredible, and it's mind-blowing. When your brain clicks in that way, where you see it that way, it really it kind of freaks you out. It's like, oh my gosh.
I bet.
He's got some that's like there is a self-portrait by what was that guy's name? Escher, MC Escher. He's a really popular artist, but he had a self-portrait that I'd never seen before, but apparently is really popular, where he's holding a metal sphere, a polished metal sphere. And so the self-portrait from MC Escher was, you see his hand coming up from the bottom of the painting, holding a metal sphere and his reflection in the metal sphere. That's what the painting was.
What?
Yeah, and now George Termis's his that's the artist who does the Termospheres.
Oh, sweet.
His painting was from the perspective of the sphere.
What?
So on the bottom of the sphere, you see his fingers holding you up, and then on the front of the sphere, you see him looking directly at you, and on the back of the sphere, you see and everywhere around, you see the room that he's sitting in.
That's so nuts.
It's so awesome. So it's like putting those two together. It's like Escher's holding a ball of space-time, and you have that captured, and you're in it, and you can look at him in that moment. It's like incredible.
That's some math art right
It's
there.
incredible math.
Yeah.
It's like 4-dimensional art is what it is.
That is nuts.
It is super nuts. I geeked out for a really long time there.
I bet. How much planning goes into doing 50 states in a year? It's got to be a lot.
Well, we like a year and a half essentially, and it continued while we were on the road.
No, technically it was even more than that because a year and a half beforehand. You meant?
No. Well,
because a year before we left, we bought the van, and that was the first thing. That was the first step. Mm-hmm. And then there was building out the van and living in the van for a year to see how to handle it.
So technically 2 years of prep. but the work continued on the road for about
The whole time.
no, close to it. We had the last 2 or 3 months we had like pretty lax because we had booked everything.
We had booked, yeah, by that, so we started booking 6 months before we left because most places like that, even big venues, honestly, don't book more than like 6 to 12 months out.
Yeah, well,
and
some places made exceptions for us because of the nature of our tour. And they're like, we don't typically book music more than 3 months out, but since you guys are on tour and this crazy thing, we could book it 8 months out, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Right on.
Because a lot of times they don't know what they're going to be doing, going through or whatever.
Right.
And so it was really helpful. There were a lot of places.
We only had 2 people double book us.
Yeah.
And that was pretty
That's
awesome.
not bad.
Yeah, I mean, for all 50 states and multiple each state. And
some of them we went back to.
Yeah.
Because they were really good gigs.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you're doing this massive tour, what was one thing that you didn't expect? Because you can plan as much as you want, but there's always going to be variables once you start doing it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So when we talked to, this is terrible. When we got double booked in Maine, so I was like, I think it was we had just gotten into Maine. And I was looking at like the website, and I was looking at, because sometimes I would check to make sure that they like were advertising us, or at least said somewhere like they're playing, so that we could know for sure that like we were playing there. And so I was looking at the website, and I was like, man, it doesn't say anything. And then I think I checked the Facebook, and somehow I figured out that we had been double booked. So we called them, and we have Bluetooth in our van, so we called and listened together. And the guy basically was like,
he blamed it on us.
He kind of blamed it on us.
No.
Like, y'all didn't think to call like 2 weeks ahead? I'm like, he's like, we're like super busy, we got a lot of stuff going on. I'm like, we're playing music in all 50 states.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Our thing is a little bigger, just for now.
It's also, I mean, in general, it's like everybody's busy. Like, you write something down on the calendar, and like, I get it. Google Calendar has messed us up before.
Right. If you messed up, just apologize, and it would suck, but at least you don't look like a butthole. It's fine,
Exactly.
I forgive you. Mistakes happen. But he straight up like laid into it like that it was our fault.
Well, the reason was because he called, had a really short conversation, and it was like, there's nothing we can do about it. We have this other band. They're going to play. You're not playing, whatever.
And so cancel them. We're out of towners.
Yeah.
And they'll figure it out next week.
Yeah.
Like, or give us some money for driving all the way to Maine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then George goes on their page and writes a review.
I was very explicit. I was like, I've never been to this place. They're probably awesome. They probably have great beer, great food. But if you're a touring band, do not book here. They are not equipped to handle double bookings. If you're traveling, they may double book you. It was in his words.
Sure.
He said, we're not equipped really to handle this sort of thing. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, dude. And then so I left the review. It was a 1-star review, and that's what pissed him off, I guess.
Because when you have a 1-star, it's really hard for you. You have to get like 7 5-stars or something like that to even like get it to balance out again, which is really weird. Doesn't make any sense to me. But like, but he was explicit, and like we legitimately had a really bad experience with that. And so he called back and was like, hey, and so he
was like, hey, and I'm like, and he was quiet. And I was like, how's it going? He's like, not too good. And I was like, yeah, me neither.
Yeah. You don't say.
So the thing about it that was so interesting, at a certain point I thought maybe we should have been recording it, because it was so awkward how long this guy stayed on the phone with us. He was waiting for us to say, okay, we'll go change it or take it down or something, but we were not going to say that. And so he was
unless he fixed it. If he fixed the problem, then I would have been like, hey, problem had been solved by management after I had addressed there was an issue. 5 stars. This place is great. You know what I mean? Like,
now you're in a game of chicken over the phone.
Yeah, and it was like, I'm not going to, exactly. I'm not going to change it if you don't fix the initial issue that I had a problem with.
Yeah, of course.
Explaining the fact that you made a mistake, and that's what it sounded like, and I was like, that's cool and all. I was lightly considering taking it down because he was apologizing. And then he was like, so where are you playing next week? And I was like, I don't understand how this is relevant to the conversation, but we're playing here. He's like, why don't you just give him a call, make sure that, you're doing your part to make sure that you're still booked, because, it's...
He was so condescending.
He was like being super condescending. He's like, just give him a call, make sure you're still booked and stuff because, like that's what happened here. Like if y'all would have called, then this wouldn't have happened.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
Yeah,
if you wouldn't have double booked, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I was like,
Everything.
I'm done with this
There's
conversation.
so many excuses, and it was like, I get it. Like, it happens to, like, a lot of other people we talk to. Yeah,
I've done it.
We've all done it. We've all dealt with it, like, and, we've all messed up. But it's like, you figure something out because you realize, like, you're
Right.
two businesses that are helping each other out. And if one doesn't, if one drops the ball, like, you figure it out. But it wasn't even that, but it was just I don't even remember how long it was, but we were driving and we were like, is this guy still talking? And I'm like normally really good at just like, if someone's being ridiculous and I need to just keep my cool, I'm normally pretty good about it. Mm-hmm. But like, I was like squeezing things. Like I am about to lose it on this man right now. Shut up.
Understandable.
Yeah. Agreed.
That was pretty amazing. Other than that, the surprising things were mostly good. One time somebody left a large check in our tip jar, and it was very important at that moment, and we really needed a lot of money at that moment. And so it was really, really kind.
It was stupid.
It was dumb, but it was like, oh my gosh, that was so kind.
And then they invited us to church, and we're like, we love you people.
Yes.
Done.
It was amazing. Like,
that's what I want to say to people, and so they know forever. Like, invite people to church, because we wanted to go to church, but like we didn't know where to go. There's like a million churches in every city, and we'd wake up and we'd be like, I don't know, it's too many options.
Yeah, if you're listening and you go see a touring band, ask them if they're interested in going to church, and bring them to your church, because there's a good chance that they may be interested in going to church and they just want that fellowship and they can't find it. It's really difficult to find it.
I bet it can get pretty lonely on the road because you're not in any place for a very long time.
Exactly. Yeah. And church people, when they do that sort of thing, when they have that mentality, that servant mentality of just like worrying about other people rather than themselves, like they tend to be really awesome people and like really good friends to have. And like when you're on the road, they're probably going to invite you out to dinner too, and, get you some dinner, and get you some, maybe even a place to crash, and it's like Christians are good people when you find true Christ followers.
when you find the real ones.
Yeah, when you find true Christ followers, it's like people who are trying to be like Christ are genuinely awesome people.
Well, Christ was pretty awesome.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point.
Still is.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Spoke with him this morning.
That's good though. So, that's a good advice for a touring band to, just in case, be aware of those things. Was there anything else that like is often overlooked on tour, you think? That like you wouldn't think it'd be a big deal, but remember to like bring water or something like that.
Well, yes. Well, we had two giant like canteens, and we were constantly filling them because it was us and our dog, Homegirl.
Right.
And so like just keeping us all hydrated. And I mean, it drives like going through the Yukon. Like you really had to prepare for that.
Make sure you have extra gasoline, because in the Yukon, if you're driving through Canada out of season, they straight up close everything down. And in May, it was comfortable to drive in. The weather was not too icy or anything. It wasn't icy really at all on the roads. But it was at the beginning of season, and some gas station hasn't opened yet, and they don't notify you on Google all the time. And so we navigated to like a gas station that was like 5 hours from our last gas station, which is pretty close to like using most of our gas to get there. And
that's scary.
And we got there and it was closed because it was closed for the season.
But there were other ones that that didn't come up on Google that were open.
Right. And so we thankfully found places, but we also had fuel on top of the van in case it totally petered out on us. And we didn't use that until we absolutely had to, and we didn't even ever have to use it actually.
Yeah.
Thank God.
So we
Yeah.
were pretty, we were pretty fortunate.
Yeah, we were.
We were
Definitely.
kind of scared.
I think of some other things that might be overlooked. Oh, definitely food expenses. If you
Yeah.
can find a way to cook
Yeah.
for yourself, like in the van that you're in or something, definitely do that. If you're using propane, make sure you have good ventilation in the van because that's how people die.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Right. So have some fans running or something while you're cooking. Parking in Walmart parking lots is really awesome. Most Walmarts will allow you to do that for free. And try to stay around where like the truckers are because a lot of times those truckers are well-seasoned travelers, and
Armed.
if there's out there armed, exactly.
Yeah.
If anybody's trying to cause trouble, you got backup basically as a traveler. Because you can be in some sketchy neighborhoods, like when we were in Chicago, that was the only place we felt safe because we were going to stay at a Planet Fitness. We have a membership for there, and I heard gunshots, and I was like, it's a big city. I know there's crime. It happens. And this was while Kelly was still in the gym. Mm-hmm. And then about like 30 seconds later, I heard gunshots closer. And I was like, okay, we're definitely not staying in the city, like in this part of the city.
Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another really good tip, I think. $20 Planet Fitness membership is like the Black Card membership. And that gives you access to all the gyms in America, and you can shower there.
Mm-hmm. And massages and tanning beds.
Right. But for most traveling bands, they just need a shower.
I needed a massage.
I mean, and the thing is that it's not in every, like there are some towns that don't have it.
It's not everywhere on this planet.
Right, but it's not everywhere on this planet. But when, I mean, for when we were driving through Canada, again, like it took us 4 days. And so 4 days, we just went straight. We just drove straight. And I mean, it was cold, so we didn't take off our clothes anyways. We just wore the same clothes and drove for 4 days. And then we showed up, and there was a Planet Fitness in Fairbanks, Alaska. And we showered so good.
There you go.
The other thing about cooking, too, is like, some people are just like, whatever, I'll eat trash and drink beer and I'll be fine. But I'm like, you know what? Health is really important to me. I have some really bad health problems in my family history, and so I've always paid attention to it. And so, like, 1 or 2 days of eating fast food, and I'm just like, I can't do this to myself. And it's like, that's your energy. So I just want to put more of that mom energy out there and say, cook your food, make some vegetables.
Eat your vegetables.
It's pretty simple to like, we actually have some videos online on our YouTube where we were vlogging and
we
where
would
we
make
were
ramen
cooking.
sometimes, like straight up ramen and like from the packets, but we'd add a bunch of really good veggies.
Yeah.
Right on. There are ways.
Yeah,
there are ways to make it cheap and good for you, relatively speaking.
And simple. I mean, I don't know if you know.
And really simple, yeah. If you're not a great cook, just throw some onions and some broccoli in a pot until it looks like it's hot, and then throw some ramen in there.
Yeah.
You don't really need to be an amazing cook or anything. Just make sure your dishes stay relatively clean, and you stay stocked up on propane. They sell propane and propane stoves at Walmart. As I said before, make sure you have good ventilation because that's how people die.
Yeah.
That's true.
Don't want to be cause of that.
And yes, we don't want to cause that. But we saved so much money towards the end of our tour from doing that because we've gotten like rotisserie chickens and stuff like that, pre-cooked meals from Walmart essentially before we started cooking more in the van, and it really like it added up. Over time it started costing a lot to do that, so we just kind of cooked what we needed, and the rest of it we would just put in a Tupperware. I'd actually recommend if you're cooking ramen, get some like mason jars and put it in the mason jar, so that way when it cools, it kind of cans.
Mm-hmm.
Smart.
You can have it kind of preserved, and then it's not a perfect solution. It won't stay good for a super long time that way, but it'll stay better for longer than a plastic Tupperware. So definitely try to can your leftovers if you can.
Yeah. And then the other thing is like a lot of people, I mean, you've probably seen where people get a really old van and just get that for traveling. And that can work really well.
If you know how to work on it.
Right.
Definitely
Yeah,
And
for sure.
we ended up deciding to go for, we had, I mean, it wasn't completely new, but it was a 2015 and we bought it in 2016.
Hell yeah.
And so it, it had some mileage on it. It knocked down the price a little bit, but
The
it
gas
was an
mileage is
investment,
awesome.
and we haven't broken down. We really just did not want to break down in the middle of wherever.
Yeah, for sure.
And
We're lucky.
the gas mileage, yeah, like he said, the gas mileage was amazing, which was important because by that point we had weighed it down with music equipment. And how big was our bed? We got like a legitimate bed too. We got a purple mattress.
There you
And it
go.
got 100 pounds or something.
Get it.
It's crazy.
But that was important because George has a bad back.
Mhm.
And he was like, "Ugh." So yeah, basically we need to, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all good.
So I mean,
But if
basically,
anybody has any questions, I feel like about that sort of thing, they're welcome to like message us on Facebook. If anybody is listening, you guys can shoot us a message on our website or Facebook, and our website's just mygirlmywhiskeyandme.com.
Yeah,
And,
it is.
Yeah, it is.
bought that domain.
Hell yeah.
Cash money.
Yeah. Tell your friends.
Yeah.
Can
You can also
you?
get music on there and stuff like that. But I genuinely would urge you if you have any questions about venues to play at, we can point you in the right direction. And if you have any questions about like builds for your van, we can point you in the right direction.
That's right. That's right. I'm into it. Can you believe we've been talking for over an hour and a half already?
That's insane. We should stop.
Yeah. Yeah. The longest show I ever did was almost 3 hours. But
Oh, yeah.
I know. I know. That's what I said. I
That
don't have
must have
plans for
been
these.
so interesting.
Oh man. So there's a guy named Details. That's his real name, which is
I
amazing.
read about him in your like
Details.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was a creature performer in all the new Star Wars movies, which was great. He was like in quite a few of the aliens and droids and whatnot. But
Wow.
before that, in the 90s, he was in a band called Emanate, which was like a boy band in the UK. They actually had one of their tracks played in the Bad Boys movie.
Oh.
So he was in that band. He was one of there was like 4 guys, and he was one of them. And they opened for Janet Jackson for her whole UK tour.
Oh my
Oh.
god.
So I was like, I need to know what that was like. Like,
Yeah.
there's such a small percentage of the history of humans that have had that specific experience. So,
Yeah.
so
Very
for the
specific.
first hour and a half, we just talked about that, and then we talked about Star Wars.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
So
awesome.
it's like 2 podcasts in one.
Exactly. He told me to break it up, and I was like, nah.
No.
He's like, I'm breaking into 2 smaller episodes. I was like, not how I roll.
No.
This is just the truth here. So
Yeah, that's oof details.
the truth, and it was so nice to have you guys on because I've known you both forever.
It's
But,
been awesome to talk with you. It's super
Yeah.
cool.
I know.
I
it's
also
been too
didn't
long.
mention it, but I love your icon with the cabbage.
Thank
Yep.
you. Yes.
My cabbages!
Yes. Yes. Somebody gets it.
No, oh my gosh, that show.
That's one of the best shows ever.
It's so good.
I agree. It served me well over the
Mhm.
years. It served me
Yeah.
well. But so before I forget, where can people find you guys online again?
You can find us on our website, mygirlmywhiskeyandme.com. All of our music is also on Spotify. Our first album, our only album, is called In the Ground. The band is My Girl, My Whiskey and Me. Everywhere, basically.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram.
Anywhere music is streamed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a
Oh.
lot.
Yeah, man.
Now the real question is, I want to get your permission here. Can I play one of your songs at the end of this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Woo!
Do
Yeah.
Know which one you want to play?
I
do you
want
want
to
us-
play the one that you want me to play. Artist
Oh.
choice here.
Oh, man.
Oh, I don't
Oh,
know.
jeez.
It's hard. So
Yeah.
we have a couple of hits, I think, that we could choose from.
Mm-hmm.
People really like Lucy.
People do really like Lucy.
Mhm.
That's sort of our hit. Dustin Payne is like, oh, I listen to that song every day.
Then I guess we're gonna play Lucy.
Yeah, go for it, man.
I'm excited. This was awesome. Next time you guys do something really cool, I'll have you back on.
Awesome.
Yay!
We'll be working on that right away.
Yeah, we'll try to be so interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to do like 100 states in
Yeah.
2 years.
We found some states and we played them.
Yeah,
We played
just
so good.
exactly. You have to circumvent places you've been before in the state, but just do it again. You
Right.
know, we'll figure it out.
We're going to incorporate some of South America. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
There you go.
Everybody asked us if we played Puerto Rico, and I was like, no.
Like, calm down. 50 is enough, okay?
Yeah, 50 states,
just
not
like-
commonwealths as well.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, that's cool. You're doing a 50-state tour, but how about all this other stuff, too?
Yeah, exactly. There's an
Like,
entire
not a-
world out there, guys.
Yeah, exactly. That's not really that impressive.
Yeah,
when
but
you put
did
it
they
into
go to
perspective.
China?
That's right. Yeah. You just gotta like put on hipster glasses, be like, we'll get there.
Yeah.
And we'll make it happen. But until next
Yeah.
time. And
Away for so long with a phantom facing mine and a daunting note of dangling hope to die for. You became like a rocket to keep
Hello, friends. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Interesting Podcast. If you'd like to follow the show, it is at Pod of Interest on Twitter. If you'd like to follow me, I'm at Jedi Brian on all social media sites. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it and tell your friends. Let them know we've got some cool stuff going on over here. Speaking of cool stuff, we now have merch. That's right, you asked, and I supplied. Just search The Interesting Podcast on TeePublic and get you some sweet, sweet gear. Also, I've made a Patreon, so if you'd like to support the show and get access to other exclusive shows, you can now do that over at patreon.com/JediBrian. On that note, special thanks to Chris, Ben, Jim, Daz, Kelly, Daryl, and Logan. Your support means so much, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. So until next time, be well.